Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Dream Civil's YouTube channel. Today's topic of discussion is Forest, India's carbon vault. The carbon vault is a place where we store or the place which absorbs the CO2. Forests are the natural carbon vault available. A landmark study published in Environmental Research Climate revealed that the Indian forest can nearly double the CO2 storage by 2100, which is nearly 100% increase in the carbon potential, which means Indian forests have not reached its saturation point yet, so it can absorb more CO2 in the future. Now, let's decode this study. A scientific study did by the researchers from BITS Bilani and IIT Madras have suggested that the Indian forest, instead of declining by heat, surprisingly have shown an increase in potential to increase the biomass due to the higher CO2 levels, which is acting like the fertilizers. And the growth trajectory provided by the study is the acceleration of carbon sequestration is projected to peak after 2050. What is carbon sequestration? The process by which the forest absorbs the CO2 and store it. So this will go higher in the 2050, and which will provide strategic window for India to achieve its 2070 net zero target. One important thing to note here is this is a model based prediction. It is not a guaranteed one. It is just a prediction. So the extreme level of heat, droughts and deforestation can still negatively impact our Indian forest. This chart here shows how much forest biomass can increase for low, medium and high level of CO2 emissions. Although the elevated CO2 can enhance the biomass growth in models, in reality it can also create a serious long-term ecological risk such as droughts, deforestation, heat waves and serious loss in the biodiversity. So what is the growth engine suggested by this study which is going to help this CO2 elevation? Which is going to help in the increase in forest biomass due to the CO2 elevation. So first thing is CO2 fertilization. Okay. So since there is more CO2 in the air, it will help the plants to use more water efficiently because there will be photosynthesis happening a lot, right? So to make the food, the plants will use the water in a more efficient way. So okay, there is higher level of CO2 in the atmosphere. So what about the water availability? The climate model have suggested that there will be increased rainfall across the India, which is going to make the water available for the photosynthesis process. The lag effect. So the forests don't grow immediately after good rainfall years. The trees take time to convert that water and the food into wood. How much growth potential is there based on the region? Now let's look into that. So the dry margins such as Rajasthan and Gujarat have shown the highest increase potential, which is more than 60%. So which can result in shifting from arid to greener states. The Himalayas and Western Ghats, in contrast, showed very low increase potential because they are already ecologically saturated and limited by the nutrient availability. Then comes the Gangetic Belt and Deccan. They show the intermediate increase potential because of the expansion of forest margins into semi-arid interiors. So what about the soil organic carbon? This study suggested that it will be stable, but the SOC will be stable only if the forest floor is left undisturbed. There is a masked stress in this model study. So what are all those? The ecological disturbance. The rise in temperature will also increase the drought and the frequency of wildfires, and also invasive stress. So if we are saying that the CO2 level, right, the higher CO2 level is going to increase the biomass, it is going to increase the invasive species growth as well. So those species will affect the growth of our native species of plants and trees. So that will in turn reduce the overall sequestration efficiency. And then nutrient limits. For plant growth, we need other nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen along with CO2 availability. So if we are not going to get the phosphorus and nitrogen in this equal level as that of CO2, it is not going to result in increase in biomass. So there is a critical research gap in this study. This graph indicates a study and then a faster increase in the forest carbon stock over time, and it shows a significant growth also. What is the policy imperatives for India? NBC alignment, India aims for an additional sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 by 2030 and rising it to 4 billion by 2035. Regionalized planning. So instead of having a target for the entire nation, having the ecological regional targets like for the forest management that recognize the semi-arid gains. And then the joint forest management, engaging the tribal communities to prevent the degradation and protect the soil organic carbon. Technology integration, utilizing LiDAR, it is a remote sensing technology, and satellite monitoring to track the carbon stocks in real-time business models. One of the most striking findings of this study is that India's arid zones projected almost 60% increase. So, as the rainfall shifts, these margins can become a significant carbon sponges. Now, let's discuss the below topics. If you can answer it, please comment it below. Discuss how the climate feedback loops impact the India's carbon sink potential. Why do models project lower relative carbon gains for the Western Ghats compared to the Rajasthan? Explain the significance of CO2 fertilization in the forest dynamics. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe for more such informative videos. Thank you. Stay tuned.